Tommy Shelby, the mastermind behind the Peaky Blinders empire. As brilliant as he is, Tommy Shelby is far from a role model in every aspect. He's deeply traumatized, incredibly violent, and carries a host of antisocial tendencies, but beneath all his flaws lie two extraordinary traits that can change the game for you: his ability to remain exceptionally calm under pressure, and his knack for outsmarting everyone he encounters. Spoilers through Season 5 to follow. First off, perhaps the most noticeable thing about Tommy is that he rarely overreacts in situations of extreme pressure. Tommy's calm, non-reactive demeanor is extremely unsettling to his adversaries, but even more important, it's in this remaining calm that he's able to put into practice all of the other strategies that we're discussing in this video, so this piece is foundational. Now, Tommy wasn't born cool as a cucumber. None of us are. He developed this trait through repeated exposure to life-threatening situations, first in the war, and then over and over and over again in the course of his rise as a gangster. The same principle applies in our lives. If we want to remain calm in certain situations, the most reliable way isn't simply by focusing on keeping a straight face or a deadpan stare. In fact, the more you think about your facial expressions when you're nervous, the more likely you are to actually blush. So even though people notice the unflinching face, the best way to get there is through what's called exposure therapy. Essentially, you put yourself into less challenging simulations of whatever difficult scenario you're about to face. So if you're going to interview, doing a mock interview with a friend, or even touring the building that you'll be interviewing in can go a long way to calming your nerves on the big day. Or if you want to be more comfortable in social situations, saying a single extra sentence to a service person can challenge you without triggering total panic. But Tommy's experience also shows us what happens if you expose yourself to overwhelming situations rather than gradations of slightly more challenging ones. When overwhelmed, you can become traumatized. And while you may retain total coolness in stressful moments, you will inevitably find destructive coping mechanisms to deal with what you haven't faced. And in the later seasons, we see Tommy's mental stability break down as suicide becomes more and more of an option. So as you're building towards fearlessness, don't rush in too fast. It can be counterproductive. Now, outsmarting people requires more than just composure. Tommy often has to persuade people that have every reason to hate him, and he exhibits three powerful tools that regularly keep him in control. The first is his use of state-breaking questions. Watch.
So the Oddfellows want you to know that any deviation from your instructions will have consequences.
What's your dog's name?
When we're under pressure, our natural response is to go with the flow and passively accept the conversational pace set by someone who's in a position of power over us. However, in doing so, we surrender our power during that conversation, which in a negotiation usually leads to an unfavorable deal. The state-breaking question is a seemingly out-of-place question that breaks the one-sided conversational flow. And from there, conversation is much easier to steer in a new direction. In this case, Tommy uses it to assert his power despite the fact that he is imprisoned.
You visited your sister.
Hey, what's your name, boy?
Interestingly, when Tommy does have power, he doesn't allow others to divert it away with their own state-breaking questions. He simply continues down his original path rather than answering them.
That man is a trained Royal Marine sniper. Furthermore, he has a criminal profile, which will make his actions explicable to the police.
And since when did you worry about the police?
Barney Thomason is going to kill an MP.
In your life, you probably don't want to use this to introduce threats into a conversation, but it can be an incredibly persuasive tool, especially when someone's emotional state is preventing them from moving forward productively. For instance, if someone is feeling upset, asking a random lighthearted question can snap their state for long enough for them to consider more empowering possibilities. So keep this in mind when emotions, yours or someone else's, get out of control. Asking a seemingly irrelevant question gives you the opportunity to retake control of the situation and move it towards a more productive solution. Now, a simple question isn't going to instantly put someone on your side. In fact, other people can be counted on to continue to pursue their own agendas, which is why we often see Tommy get what he wants by finding a way to align his needs with the other person's. For instance, when he wants to prevent Kimber from assaulting Grace, he doesn't appeal to his decency. He says this:
She looks good on the outside, but she has the clap. Yeah.
Or watch here, as Tommy tries to convince another faction to join him in a war against the Italians. He doesn't appeal to honor or to doing what's right, but to doing what's good for Alfie Solomon.
And if the Italians win, they're not planning on leaving. And after me, it'll be him, and then you, and the Titanic, and the fucking mafia, Alfie. They've come here. Can't believe our coppers are unarmed. They can distill their liquor, and it's against the law. They've come here and they like what they see. They're coming and they're here to stay.
Now, in order to do this effectively, you cannot imagine that other people want the same things as you. You must try to first view the world from their perspective. Now, I know this may sound obvious, but so few people follow this advice. Instead, they offer others what they would want, never getting anywhere. So before offering help, you need to make sure you understand the other person's world, which is why Tommy comes to these meetings already understanding the position and temperament of the person that he's going to be speaking to.
Your distillery provides 1/10 of your income. Protection is another 10%, and the rest you make from the racetracks. I know you keep a gun in the drawer. I know you keep it beside the whiskey. I know you offer a deal or death.
And if after all of your research on someone you're still unclear on what they want, you can always just ask them in the course of conversation.
I want to know what you want.
One concrete area that you can put this to use in your own life is in connecting with someone that you might like as a mentor, say a CEO, an influencer, whoever. The internet makes it easier than ever to get in touch with these people, but it also means that they get more of these requests than ever before. So rather than the typical, let's chat over coffee, research a particular problem they may have, and then offer to meet to discuss how specifically you can help. This is a much, much more effective way to start that relationship. But even beyond this particular scenario, the point is that one of the best ways to get what you want is to seriously consider how you can get other people what they want. It activates reciprocity and creates allies that can open up incredible opportunities. Now this brings us to the next point. When Tommy really needs something done, he doesn't just solve someone's problem. He gives both the carrot and the stick, which is a much stronger motivation when you're trying to effect large changes.
The nature of the deal is explained in my proposal. I've booked you a suite. If you need anything in this city, just mention my name. Also in the envelope is a cheque for £500 for your wife. She can use it to pull a black carriage with your body in it, should you break the terms of the white flag.
Some people are motivated more by the prospect of gaining something, others by the fear of losing something. And all of us are motivated when there's a particular path that assuages both of those desires, which is why Tommy makes sure to hit on both whenever he needs someone to be all in on one of his plans. You can see it again here. This time he does it in reverse order.
If those guns reach Belfast, your life in the Force is over. When I've achieved what I've set out to achieve, I will let you know where to find the guns. You'll be a hero. You'll probably get a medal.
This is a far superior persuasive strategy than simply commanding or threatening people, and it's incredibly helpful when you're trying to inspire any group of people. So whether it's in school or work, when there's a team of people that you're trying to move towards a common goal, or if it's in business, when you're trying to explain the value of a product that you're selling, don't just talk about what someone can gain if they follow your vision, but instead on what they might miss out if they don't. Now this takes us to the last piece, which is truly what makes Tommy Shelby so unique and probably why so many people love him. And it's his ability to turn trash into resources, lemons into lemonades, as the phrase commonly says. But I wouldn't actually use that phrase because it's most often used to describe making the best of a bad situation. In Tommy's case, he makes a bad situation better than if it had never happened in the first place. For example, when there's a failed assassination attempt on his brother's life, he doesn't just look at the bright side of things, that his brother is alive. He uses that attempt to spread disinformation, telling everyone that Arthur, his brother, is dead, which buys him time to recuperate and then eventually surprise and kill that season's big baddie, Luca Changretta. Similarly, Tommy is told that he needs to kill his friend Danny Wisbang to avoid all-out war with the Italian gangsters, clearly a bad situation. But he makes it work out better than if he didn't have to by using it as an opportunity to fake Danny's death, which gets him a man who can operate in London without anyone even looking for him. And it also gets him a hiding place for the guns that he stole at the beginning of the season, the supposed grave of his friend, a place that no one would even think of looking. Now this might seem like it could only work in scripted dramas, but this strategy of turning trash into resources is how some of the most elegant and brilliant solutions are created in the real world. The point is, the bad things in your life may only appear bad in a particular context. If you put those things into a completely new and different context, you can turn something that everyone everyone else overlooked into a valuable resource. So an extremely powerful question to ask when you're frustrated or you wish the circumstance wasn't the case is, how can the thing that I least want become valuable towards another goal of mine?